Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Nigeria Now on Echo Television, where we keep you updated with the happenings in the country. Quite a number of events have taken place, but we'd love to discuss just a few. And do remember that you can be part of the program, so just do well to drop your comments and your views regarding any of the matters we will be discussing. I am Sarah Lashitasham, of course. I'll do the program alongside Rachel Tansy. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Sarah.
All right, we have quite a number on our plate, but we'd love to start with the one that is basically everywhere on the papers, on the lips of people, talking about the flood havoc or talking about the collapse of the dam, however we choose to see it. Well, there was a havoc caused by water in Borno, talking about Meduguri, where we're seeing that almost more than half a million of people have been displaced as a result of the flooding. Talking about presently, even animals in the zoo are actually out, and then even inmates in prison are out. So we know what that entails. That is to say, villagers will really have to be very careful because reptiles are on the loose as well as many other things. Now, we're not just going to be looking at Borno alone. Now, we're seeing that already about 29 states or so have been affected by flood. And we know already we've had a number coming from NEMA warning the fact that there's going to be flood in about 21 states. And then talking about many other places where people need to be very vigilant. People need to, if it means for you to actually vacate where you're staying, especially for those who are living in water-prone areas. And I clearly remember the last time we had this discussion here on the show where we said even states that were not mentioned, I think it will only be it would only be nice if they also, stay on alert regarding that, because it's one thing for Nima to see it coming. It's another thing for the rain to do its own work. And we keep talking about the fact that we need to play our own part. I remember we started a conversation in the morning where you said if we are going to look at it critically, especially regarding the dam, this was a dam that gave signs, and then probably people ignored the signs coming from the dam. And then I said, just when I was happy about Cameroon, but then here we're having ours here, the dam breaking and all of that. But then looking at the havoc, this of course talking about properties, talking about lives that have been lost, homes, and many other things that were being affected by this flood. I really, really felt that it was important that we talk about it again, in as much as it will look as if we're talking about flood a lot. But it's already that time of the year. We're seeing people in even Anambra beginning to harvest early because of the flood and all of that. So you could tell these are just few states that are actually making it. But then we never can tell how many more states have been affected. We saw that in Bauchi State as well. So it's quite a lot for Nigerians, and we're seeing many people, sending their condolences. But beyond that, I keep emphasizing the fact that if there's something that we're lacking in these countries, we do not prevent things from happening rather. We prefer to correct it after it has happened. Just like you were talking about the dams, imagine if we prevented that dam, what would have been the outcome? I believe that the destruction we're seeing here wouldn't have been close to that if only those who were supposed to do what they are supposed to do did what they were supposed to do at the right time. So it's quite a very sad one looking at the havoc this water is doing. And whether we like it or not, the rain is not really over yet. Yes, in September, it's expected that we should be coming almost to the end. But we know how it mostly looks. The rain didn't start early this year, so we never can tell when we're going to be having another heavy downfall again. And I think it's very important that everybody should be on his toe regarding that.
So if we talk about 29 states, we're looking about at 80% of the entire country. So we are looking at the whole of Nigeria affected by flooding, because 29, we're just 7 to 8 states away from the entire country. And that is a lot. And then the concern here is, can we blame this completely on rainfall? No. That is the direct answer. Can we blame this completely on rainfall? No, of course not. We have this funny, measurement we do at home to know when the rain is very heavy in a year, and if it's not. We have this mining pond right behind our house, and if the rain for the year is very heavy, it gets filled up really, really quick. It gets filled up to the top almost significantly, that we can see it just from our window. And if the rain doesn't fall much, it is low, it remains. And this year, not only did the rain not start early, it was poor, it wasn't as heavy, and it ceased for a period of time that it even became a concern for farmers. And even now that it resumed, it just peaked for a little while, for like 2 weeks and a little bit, and then the rain now went back to normal. So for the entire year of 2024, so far so good. The rain started late. It wasn't the most we've witnessed, and yet we are having the most when it comes to flooding. So are we going to sit down and blame it on the rain, or take the blame for what is happening, the measures that we refuse to take in regarding now? Plateau State is one of those states that have one of the highest rainfall in the country. When it's raining nowhere, it's raining in Plateau. It starts earlier and it stays longer compared to other states. Our weather here is quite different. Now, what makes certain states prone to flooding, it's not because they have more rainfall than the other, but because they are riverine areas. They have rivers connected. We can talk about Kogi, we can talk about Benue, we can talk about these rivers that lead, we can talk about Taraba and the rest, where we see all of this flooding. They are connected to one river or another. So the moment there is a heavy downpour, we see flood. We can talk about that down to the southeast and even the south side, where we've seen in the previous years flooding. And even for some of those years, come 2024, we have not even seen the flooding recorded that we saw in the previous years as this year, if we're going to follow all the statistics and the information we've had. That is to tell you that we cannot sit down and point a finger at the rains for the year 2024. We need to look at every other activity that we refuse to take seriously. It means we need more dams in our state. We need to channel this water better. We need to save this water. We need to create a path for them. Even if we are not creating a dam is not only for generating electricity. It's to control, exactly, it's to control the flow of water and all of that. It means there need to be maintenance and certain prevention that needs to be taken, because we cannot sit down and classify what happened in Borno as catastrophic while it is a man-made problem. It's different if we had a tsunami. It's different if we had a hurricane. It is different, but this is a dam collapsing and causing this flooding. It's not a 7 days non-seizure of rain. No, it is a dam. And this shows us that most of our problem as regarding climate change and its adverse effect on us are mostly our activities. Is there climate change? Yes. Is it as bad as it's been portrayed? No. There are activities that we're supposed to put in place that will minimize the effect it's having, and we are not doing it. This is just where we call upon the government that there's so much work that needs to be done in Nigeria, in states, at every level. It's not all about taxing NEMA and the rest to do certain things. We need these agencies to put in preventive measures, because most of the times what we do after that doesn't even solve the problem. It doesn't give people back their property. For the prison, that we have prisoners escaping, we are looking at the wall of the prison collapsing. So this is another project in the first place. For water to come and push a prison, it means it was not strong, because we have the pictures and we can see some buildings still standing. If those are quality buildings, they might not fall, because the impact, depending on how close those buildings were to the dam. But for a building that wasn't that close to the dam for the walls to fall, and it was just a matter of time, a strong wind would just eventually
pull down the walls.
Exactly, Sele. And this means that there are so many other things that need to be done, so many things that I don't think the government will be able to recover. What about private businesses and houses and all of that, and properties? So the government, it shows us that when it comes to climate change, flooding, rain, and everything, our human activity majorly is the reason that we are having it as bad as it is, but not that we can point the fingers at the rainfall or other activities that is not man-made. It just shows us that it's us and unless we wake up and we do the right thing, we will continue to see this disaster that are man-made, and we can portray it as something devastating when we could have avoided it 100%.
You know, while NEMA was giving that warning, I was expecting every agency and body to check what is wrong and to fix it. Not for us to wake up after a warning coming from NEMA to a collapsed dam.
Yeah.
We've been saying this, if only the authorities are listening to all. We've said this a number of times concerning the fact having a reservoir where we can save water. When it's dry season right now, we're crying that there's no water. Irrigation farming, no water for it, and a number of things. Meanwhile, we're having excess of water now that we would have done something.
Yeah.
And just like we're saying, let us stop, you know, looking for medicine after death. If there's any age such as that, let us just stop it and correct the measures, correct what needs to be corrected, so that when times come, we'll be able to see better things coming out, and then we don't have people paying with their lives as well as with their properties. Now, we're aware that the election, off-season election, is already taken off in Ondo as well as Edo State, and then we've been having a number of things coming up. We've had exchange of words coming from candidates. I mean, the recent one was the one we had in Edo State between Oshomole and that of Obaseki, where he insulted the wife of being barren, and then a reply, and then Nigerians were expecting something better coming from politicians. But I'm not surprised. It's already that time of the year, whether it's off-season election or it's in-season election. Once we have any election, whether it's just local government election, we mostly have people who are actually showing us that they do not have the integrity that's expected. Now, I'm trying to take it, let's take it back to the body INEC. We've had expectation during the 2023 election. You and I spoke during days. We had discussion during Nigeria Now and any other program, because we had to be, you know, we narrowed our discussion mostly to the election because that was what was happening then. A number of expectations coming from INEC, the fact that I hope you're ready, your accreditation, mock, talking about signing of peace accord, so many other activities, you know, that mostly follow pre-election, before the election, and all of that. INEC giving you the assurance that, you know what, we are ready for a free and fair election. In fact, if you're talking about electronic, we are going to. And everything, and Nigerians believed INEC. But hold and behold, 2023 election, we saw what happened. A number of things that I could actually categorize it, about 60% of what went wrong was actually the fault of INEC. And then maybe we can leave about 40 to other parties and individuals that didn't do the right thing. But here we're having INEC again, promising the fact that, you know what, we are ready for a free and fair election. All the mock accreditation has been done. In fact, we have a backup machine in case the RF refuse to pick up as they're supposed to. We have a backup machine to do just that, the beavers and all of that. And I'm hoping that this time around they're going to prove Nigerians wrong by actually being ready, not just saying they are ready, but physically being ready. We don't want to hear a result of, okay, right now we're talking about scarcity of fuel. We'll be talking about logistics, that the reason why we could not transport certain materials because we didn't have the available petrol needed to transport our staff, or hope we will not hear. You know, there's some very flimsy excuses that mostly come out of INEC. But I'm hoping that they are planning to prove Nigerians wrong by being ready for a truly free and fair election. I hope they know what that means anyway.
Stella, over the years, we can go back to 2023 general election and then fast forward it now to the present of 2024. And I have seen INEC limit free and fair election to going to the polling unit as early as 70, put up all the things you need to do, the buckets, the polling booths, the rubbers for putting in your ballot papers, making queues, doing BVA, exactly, and all of that. I've seen INEC over the years limit free and fair election to the exercise that happens Saturday morning from 8 to 4 p.m. And saying that over years have already proven the fact that INEC has missed it out when it comes to what it means to have a free and fair election. Because free and fair means transparency, and transparency starts pre, during, and post. If you are not free and fair, and I would translate it as transparent before the election day, you cannot be free and fair on the election day, and you cannot be free and fair after the election. There are certain things that INEC have allowed to pass in the past that was used against certain people in the court and taking power back and forth because INEC had failed to deliver on that level, and now we are seeing it after the election and all of that. Why am I taking it back like that? Because it is easy. Talk is really cheap for INEC to say we are ready for free and fair election, but over the years have they proven to us that they are ready? No, INEC haven't delivered 100%. Of course, we don't expect Yakubu to come out and say no, we are not ready and there won't be a free and fair election. He cannot say that. But what we want is the action concerning having a free and fair election. And it begins with certain penalties that you have put out there. Have certain political parties and candidates gotten the penalties that you're supposed to give them due to some of the offenses they have made? Have you issued that out? Or are we having people that are supposed to be penalized out there carrying flags and will be elected on Saturday? If there are people out there that have passed, then this election cannot be free and fair in whatsoever. Even if you make sure there were ballot papers available, even if you make sure there was no rigging in polling centers, as long as the pre-election thing was not free and fair, this whole election is jeopardized. And that is why it's very important, because you see certain statements from politicians, and by virtue of what politics, there are certain things that INEC is not supposed to permit for politicians to say in their campaign. Is indicting, is against certain rules and laws, but we see them going scot-free with all of those things. And until INEC stop limiting free and fair election to just the exercise that goes on Saturday, I don't think INEC is going to ever be ready for a free and fair election. And this is the message I want out for INEC, that no, it's not showing up 8 o'clock early and all of that and setting up your material. It goes, what happened, INEC, that you were supposed to be in charge of before that day that you did not deliver, and then what is going to happen after it. If you fail in the first step, you have already jeopardized the freeness or the fairness of that election. But then we will wait and see if perhaps INEC have done better. If at the end of this election we come and hear things that should have been trashed out before the election still lingering and becoming a problem, then it proves the fact that there was never a free and fair election in the first place. And I just hope that for this upcoming election, that will not be the case, and that INEC will truly prove Nigerians that, you know what, we have learned. Not only have we learned, but we are here to deliver better services to you as an electoral commission.
Oh, that's it, because everything you said is just hitting the nail on the head. There's nothing more to say beyond that, because over there, just like you said, we've just seen INEC limiting it. What about the activities that happen? What about certain people that are meant to be there, they're not there, will have observation coming, and INEC will say, no, you're saying that it was not transparent. Meanwhile, it was transparent. People were given the right. Nobody was disenfranchised and all of that. But just like you've rightly stated, I mean, it's less than 2 weeks to the election. In the next 10 days or so, they will be having their election, and everybody, the eyes of the whole Nigerian as well. Let's not forget, even after this, we're having another off-season election. So for every election we have, it's more like a way of testing INEC again to see how are you going to perform better than the way you did. And just like you said, we've seen that because of certain things that INEC are supposed to do and they did not do it, certain people are paying for it. Let's not even talk about presently, Plateau State do not have a senator representing them for the South. And this was as a result of certain things that were meant to be done that were not done. Things that were supposed to do before the elections. And so we just keep our fingers crossed. We've seen every time after election, certain reviews are being done. And I wonder when we'll take all of those reviews seriously. We had a town hall meeting where we saw Jega and some members coming to give their own take concerning what INEC can do differently to come out with a different result for every election. So it's our belief and our hope that after this election, we'll not have the same reputation of mistakes that happened during the 2023 election. And I hope for other local government elections as well, we'll see better, approach coming from INEC. Well, I guess that's how far we can go. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Sally.
As well, thank you to our viewers, supporters, and every other person that made the program a success. We look forward again to doing this together tomorrow. To have a great day ahead.